Hello everyone and welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you're new here, my name is Michael J. Bunch. I'm an author working on my first dark fantasy novel. So today we're diving into a topic that's crucial for every storyteller, and that's how to wrap up a story effectively. While my focus will be mostly on fantasy books, many of these principles can be applied across multiple genres. So grab your favorite writing beverage, settle into your most comfortable chair, and let's explore the art of crafting a satisfying ending. By the end of this video, I hope to have satisfied your craving for the perfect conclusion. But before we begin, a quick spoiler alert. We'll be discussing some famous fantasy novel endings. So if you haven't read the classics like The Lord of the Rings or Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows, The Hero of Ages or Assassin's Fate, you might want to pause the video and come back after you've finished those epic tales. Let's start by examining some of the most satisfying fantasy novel endings that have captivated readers over the years. Number one is J.R.R. Tolkien's The Return of the King. Tolkien masterfully concluded his epic saga with a bittersweet ending. The main conflict is resolved with the destruction of the One Ring, but the story doesn't end there. We see the aftermath, the healing of the land, and the departure of the elves. And this ending reminds us that victory often comes at a cost, and that the world continues to change even after the main quest is complete. Number two, J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows. So Rowling gives us two endings: the immediate aftermath of the Battle of Hogwarts and an epilogue set 19 years later. This dual approach allows readers to experience both the immediate emotional payoff and a glimpse into the characters' futures, providing closure on multiple levels. And number three, Brandon Sanderson's The Hero of Ages. Sanderson's conclusion to the Mistborn trilogy is a prime example of how to bring together complex plot threads. The ending recontextualizes the entire series, revealing hidden truths that were present from the beginning. It's a reminder that a great ending can make readers want to immediately reread the entire series. Number four, Robin Hobb's Assassin's Fate. So Hobbs concludes not just a trilogy, but a multi-series saga with this book. The ending is emotionally powerful, tying together themes and character arcs that have been developing over numerous books. It shows how a conclusion can be both surprising and inevitable when done right. These endings work because they don't just resolve the plot. They resonate emotionally, provide closure for character arcs, and often leave readers with something to ponder. Now let's turn to the wisdom of some famous authors on the best way to end a novel. So Stephen King, in his memoir On Writing, suggests that endings should feel organic rather than forced. He writes, "I think the best endings resonate because they echo a word, phrase, or image from earlier in the story, and the reader is prompted to think to himself, 'Oh yeah, I remember that. Cool.'" And George R.R. Martin, known for Song of Ice and Fire series, emphasizes the importance of emotional impact. He once said in an interview, "I think certain kinds of endings are very powerful. The bittersweet ending, where the protagonist has to sacrifice something to achieve the goal. That's always a very powerful ending." Neil Gaiman advises writers to focus on promises made to the reader. In his masterclass, he states, "What you're trying to do is make sure that you have fulfilled the promise that you made to the reader at the beginning of the story." Ursula K. Guin, in her book Steering the Craft, warns against the temptation to tie everything up too neatly. She writes, "One of the most common faults of an ending is the hurried list of events and explanations, the breathless recapitulation of all loose ends." Taking these insights into account, let's move on to 5 tips for crafting satisfying endings in your fantasy novels. Tip number 1. Resolve the central conflict. Your ending should provide a clear resolution to the main conflict that has driven your story. This doesn't mean everything needs to be wrapped up in a neat bow, but the primary question posed by your plot should be answered. In fantasy, this often involves the defeat of a dark lord, the saving of a kingdom, or the completion of a quest. However, be careful not to make this resolution too easy or predictable. The best endings often come with a twist or a cost. Complete character arcs is number 2. Your characters should have undergone significant changes throughout the story. The ending is where these arcs come to fruition. Show how your protagonists have grown, learned, or changed. This is particularly important in fantasy, where character growth often parallels the external journey or quest. And remember, a satisfying character arc doesn't always mean a happy ending. Sometimes the most powerful conclusions come from tragedy or sacrifice. Tip number 3, tie up loose ends, but not all of them. Address the major plot threads you've introduced throughout your story, but don't feel compelled to resolve every minor detail. Leaving some things to the reader's imagination can make your world feel more real and expansive. In fantasy, where you're often dealing with complex worlds and magic systems, it's okay to leave some mysteries unsolved. This can even set up potential sequels or spin-offs. Tip number 4, evoke emotion. The ending is your last chance to make your readers feel something, whether it's joy, sadness, hope, or a complex mix of emotions. Your conclusion should pack an emotional punch. In fantasy, this often comes from the high stakes of the final conflict or the bittersweet nature of victory. Don't be afraid to make your readers cry, cheer, or gasp in surprise. Tip number 5, echo the beginning. Create a sense of symmetry by calling back to elements from the beginning of your story. This could be a return to a specific location, a repetition of a phrase or situation that mirrors the opening but shows how much has changed. This technique creates a satisfying sense of closure and can highlight the theme of your story. And remember, these are guidelines, not rigid rules. The best ending for your story will depend on the specific tale that you're telling. Trust your instincts and don't be afraid to revise your ending multiple times until it feels right. And there you have it, folks. We've explored some of the most satisfying fantasy endings, delved into the wisdom of famous authors, and covered 5 key tips for crafting your own spectacular conclusions. So I hope this video has given you some valuable insight for wrapping up your own stories. Remember, the perfect ending is one that's true to your characters, your world, and the journey you've taken your readers on. If you found this information useful, please hit the like and subscribe button. Don't forget to click the bell icon if you want to be notified anytime I post a video. I'll also leave links to my social media accounts in the description below. You can follow me if you like. And if you want to stay up to date with my own writing journey and get exclusive updates before anyone else, head over to my website and sign up for my newsletter. And the link will also be in the description. So thank you so much for watching. Until next time, keep on writing.